The first 4 or 5 days of the start of the Ukrainian counteroffensive did not start well for the Ukrainian armed forces. These attempts ended in failure and were all repulsed by the Russian armed forces. Photos showing destroyed Ukrainian equipment have already appeared in the media. In addition to Soviet armored vehicles and tanks, there is a photo evidence of destroyed German tanks and US-made M2 Bradley infantry armored vehicles. Russian personnel have captured at least one Leopard 2 tank and multiple Bradley infantry fighting vehicles in Ukraine's Zaporozhye region, as confirmed by new footage released by the Russian Defense Ministry. The footage shows Russian personnel inspecting the Western-supplied armor, with one seemingly excited soldier circling them and remarking that some of them had their engines still running. "This explicit hardware is not as scary as it seemed," he was heard saying. While it was previously speculated that Russian personnel may have only accessed the vehicles briefly, before returning to their defensive positions, Russians on the sources have since reported that the assets were captured. Sharing the footage on social media, the Defense Ministry referred to the Western vehicles as our trophies, adding that their condition indicates the rapid pace of the engagement and the abandonment of the battle-ready hardware by the Ukrainian armed forces. The M2A2 Bradley Odd Saw is manufactured by Bay Systems. The first design of the basic M2 Bradley is from the late 1970s. In the early 1980s, the vehicle was first adopted by the US Army. Over the years, the M2 Bradley has undergone many modifications, depending on the changing environment, requirements for warfare, as well as foreign orders. Today's M2A2 Bradley Odd Saw can carry up to 10 personnel. The machine has 600 horsepower and weighs 75,500 pounds, 34,250 kilograms. The M2A2 Bradley Odd Saw can travel a distance of 402 kilometers, 250 miles on a full tank of fuel, which by the way holds 175 gallons, 662 liters. The maximum speed of the vehicle is 38 miles per hour, 61 km per hour. The M2A2 Bradley Odd Saw features some impressive features. For example, its slope is 60% and the slide slope is 40%. The Bradley Odd Saw can traverse a trench 100 inches, 2.5 meters, as well as vertically traverse a wall 36 inches, 0.9 meters. Like any ground-armored combat vehicle, the Bradley is no exception and has primary and secondary armament. The first includes one 25mm M242 chain gun, 900 rounds, and 2 TOW anti-tank missile launchers, 7 missiles. The secondary armament includes one 7.62mm coaxial M240C machine gun, 2,200 rounds. The US has promised Ukraine to aid its efforts against the Russian military by providing M2A2 Bradley IFVs. 60 vehicles were promised by Washington. Unlike many other promised rigs that have yet to ship, the Bradleys arrived relatively quickly. In early February of this year, According to reported that the 60 M2A2 Bradley IFVs had arrived at the port of Bremerhaven, on Germany's North Sea coast. This shipment is part of $2.8 billion in military aid from the United States. The ship with the 60 Bradleys left South Carolina on January 27th of this year. Arriving on February 9th in Germany, this means it took 14 days for the vehicles to set foot in Europe. The transportation of these combat vehicles to Ukraine was organized by the United States Transportation Command, US Transcom. BulgarianMilitary.com reminds us that the Pentagon has 11 unified commands of the U.S. Department of Defense, and USTRANSCOM is one of them. In response to the heavy losses Ukrainian armor has taken, the United States has pledged to replace Bradley fighting vehicles lost, and to provide depleted uranium ammunition, joining Britain, which announced in March that it would also be supplying the highly controversial munitions to improve the anti-armor capabilities of Ukrainian tanks and infantry fighting vehicles. In the battle that saw a Leopard 2A6 disabled and abandoned, a second tank of the same class was shown in close-up aerial footage burning and completely destroyed. While the destruction of multiple Leopard 2s has been reported, it remains uncertain whether more of these have also been from the relatively modern A6 variant or whether others were from the more widely used Leopard 2A4 class. The value of capturing a Leopard 2A6 remains questionable, as while it could potentially allow the Russian military to better develop means of countering the vehicles, the repeatedly demonstrated limitations of the German design mean Russia can likely be confident that its existing assets are more than able to neutralize it. Demonstration that not only the Leopard 2A4, but also the new A6 variant, are limited in their survivability against modern Russian anti-armor capabilities, may well spur NATO members including Germany to accelerate work on future generations of tanks. Russia has already developed a next-generation tank under the T-14 program, although serious delays in development mean that this is not yet fielded on a meaningful scale despite having made initial deployments to Ukraine in April.